Welcome to Marketing Demystified, the podcast that connects the dots for business leaders to drive revenue through effective marketing strategy. We chat with marketing experts on different topics that will help you ramp up your revenue. We stream live on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, and you can listen to us on your favorite podcast platforms. Marketing Demystified, the podcast, is presented to you by GrowGetter, your partner in growth marketing. And here's today's episode.
Hello, everyone. Are you ready to be inspired, informed, and empowered with actionable tips to transform your marketing game? You're in the right place. Welcome to Marketing Demystified. I'm your host, Jenn Mancusi, CEO and co-founder of GrowGetter, your growth marketing partner. Being customer-centric and creating the best marketing or user experience in general with your customer top of mind is often easier said than done. We know this. We can see this in examples of copywriting. Strategists might determine the direction, writers might craft it, a manager approves it. Everyone's bringing their perspective by default, but how do we shift those perspectives to be from the customer, the person who's actually consuming and needs to find value out of that content and experience? To discuss that topic today, I'm joined by Debbie Levitt, author of Customers Know You Suck. Let's demystify marketing together on episode 41. Welcome to the show, Debbie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jen, and great to meet you.
So great to meet you and have you. Debbie is joining us all the way from beautiful Sardinia in Italy. So from all the way across the pond, really excited to have this conversation today. I love the title of your book, Customers Know You Suck. Can you tell me a little about that?
Yeah, sure. Originally, I was writing a book that I was calling Transforming Toward Customer Centricity to go with a workshop I had written. And in the middle of writing it, there were just so many stories about where this has gone wrong and how we can do better. And I just remember saying one day, can I call my book Customers Know You Suck? Because that was the way I felt. And I think a lot of us feel that probably daily or almost daily, where we're a customer of so many companies or potential customer, and we know how bad it is, and yet we go into jobs and we cut corners, we are deadline focused, we're not customer focused, and we produce the same outputs and outcomes that on the other side make us pretty mad. So there's a huge disconnect there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody please go and check out Debbie's book. I'm hooked already. And
Thank you.
let's talk about customer centricity a little bit. Maybe starting with the basics. How would you define customer centric marketing?
Yeah, sure. So to me, anything that's customer centric truly puts the customer at the center. And I think one of the downsides is we think about product or marketing and we think, well, the customer is at the center. We're making stuff for the customer or we're marketing to the customer. So, and we care about the customers. We have empathy for the customers. Everybody say it, hashtag empathy. We have empathy for the customers. So we must be customer centric. But we can tell when we're being marketed to, whether that's a website or a more targeted campaign. We can tell that they probably didn't have us in mind or they really didn't understand us. And so to me, being more customer centric is not about patting ourselves on the back and saying we really care about customers, we have empathy, but really having to ask ourselves some of the tough questions about what do we know about our customers? How do we know these things? What if they're not accurate? Where are we stereotyping people and possibly in a bad way? And the more we think about that, I think the more we might start realizing that sure, we have customers in mind, but we didn't really put them at the center. Instead, we put crappy personas, messed up demographics, bizarre stereotypes, possibly at the center.
Absolutely. I'm giggling because yes, I see this kind of stuff all the time. And even as you mentioned personas, I just did an episode last week about creating marketing personas and spent a lot of time talking about what they are not. And, versus what they are, not just a list of demographics and Mary's 35 and went to the school, that is not a persona and it's not going to help you better understand your customers or your prospects. But, as you're talking about customer centricity, what seems tricky is, uh, people think that they are, right? As you're describing, we think we're customer centric because we're making stuff for customers. So how do you even question that in your own mind to actually start moving towards customer centricity?
Yeah, I think that we've got plenty of qual and quant data that answer that question. If you're going into meetings with some bad news or lots of, well, we built what we thought they wanted, or hey, the last 97,000 A/B tests we ran seem to be failing, or NPS is stagnant or down, or however you measure it, whether that's going to be some quantitative stuff with scoring, or whether that's going to be qualitative stuff where you have hopefully qualified researchers going out and talking to people, there are plenty of signs that people are not happy, whether they're not adopting and signing on, or whether they're not satisfied, or they're not loyal, we're not retaining them, or the growth isn't there. They're not growing with us, or they're not helping us grow by getting the word out. So we've got a lot of things that we are measuring in qual and quant ways that tell us when we are not connecting well with our customers. When we're a startup, we really care about product market fit, and we agonize over all of these moments to make sure that people feel connected to us, and that they want to do business with us and stay and grow. And then once somebody says, we have product market fit, it seems like everything just goes to hell. Like, okay, whatever. Yeah, just ship it. Yeah, just put it out. Oh, yeah, just run that campaign. And I think that we don't pay the same amount of attention and put in the same amount of care that we would if the business were made or broken by it. But the business is constantly made or broken, especially when we think about some of the things happening in the news this week.
Absolutely. Okay. So we it's I think that what's interesting about what you're saying is like all of these metrics and the measurements that everyone's looking at. Everyone's thinking we're customer centric, but these metrics are still not working. I think maybe people are not connecting the dots that this is a customer centricity issue. So,
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I just want to jump all over that. Sorry, but did you have a
please,
question?
no, I want you to talk.
Okay, so I want you to ask a question if you have one. Yeah, I think it's very easy to start pointing at other things. Oh, it must be sales. Oh, we need more SEO to bring people to the public facing site. Oh, we must need more of this. Oh, well. And I think that it's unfortunately rare that somebody says, "Hey, wait a minute. Let's stop and take a strategic look at exactly what we're doing and how we got here." Yet every business book we've ever read says, "Stop and find the root causes. Stop and figure out why things aren't going right." But too often we are under so much time pressure that we just say, "Oh, look, this thing didn't seem to work for customers. I'm just going to throw another dart at the board." But then we're on the other end of that as the customers, and we're going, what is this crazy crap? What would it, sorry, I shouldn't have said crazy, but like, what is this really bizarre crap that obviously doesn't match who we are? And some of that is falling into those demographic buckets. I'm sure you see it. I see it. Pretty much everybody listening right now has received some sort of ad or promotion or campaign somewhere, either more in a more blanket way on a social media site, or more directly on an email mailing list. And you've been like, do you have any idea who I am? Do you have any idea why I'm here? Do you understand what I need from this company? That's the world I constantly live in, because I'm just endlessly pigeonholed as a woman in her early 50s. So I must be super fat with terrible skin and grandchildren. And it's like, no, why don't you sell me something for my motorcycle? Like, this isn't what I'm into. And so I think that a lot of that does come back to demographics and making assumptions about people. And of course, I'm probably on the lucky end of this. This gets significantly worse when we think about marginalized groups or people with disabilities, where a lot of times these people are even not considered at all, or considered in ways that are, let's just say, extremely unacceptable.
Mm, yes. I mean, you're touching on some things. Like the question I did want to ask you is like, where do companies go wrong with this? And I feel like that's what we're getting into here. So I guess like, why is it so hard? Why is it so Or is it not that hard and we're just doing it wrong?
It's not that hard. If we think about what would it take for us to know our customers better, that's going to be research. Whether you see that as market research or customer research or potential customer research, who's out there who isn't working with us. And to me, most of that should be qualitative, because I think when we send out surveys, we get a lot of weird stuff back, whether we've manipulated the survey on purpose or by accident. I'm all about the qualitative research, and I'm all about the observational research. I want to watch how people are doing this now. I want to enter into their world, and I want to see how they're doing this now, with us or without us, and try to figure out strategically and intelligently what's going wrong for these people, whether or not they know it. It doesn't matter if I say, and how easy was that? Thing one, that's a leading question that makes them want to say this was easy. Nobody wants to look not smart and say that wasn't easy. They want to look like a genius and go, yeah, that was easy. Meanwhile, I've watched them get it completely wrong. So it's not that this is hard. It's that it takes a little time and money. It doesn't take the months or years that it did a long time ago. We've done these projects for people in weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, if 3 weeks. It really depends on what you're trying to learn. But we've done these projects. Other people can do these projects, but it takes specialists to do the right research in the right ways without the bias, to be able to say, look, this is who the audiences are. Here are your behavioral typologies or profiles. Forget about what brand they like. Forget about their age. There are ways people are behaving that cut across age or gender or skin color or other things. And so I think it's not that these things are hard. I just think that we're used to the old ways of doing things, which is centered around a lot of demographics. And we're used to reading books that say, go faster, go faster, go faster. Yet they're also saying innovate. And I think most innovations didn't happen because people were going fast. Most innovations happened because people were given the time to slow down and think. It was the old research and development. So I don't think it's hard, but companies seem to be almost allergic to spending the time and money to do it well. Yet they have the time and money to fail. They have the time and money to get it wrong. They have the time and money to lose customers and have to replace them, or all of these other things that we see as the real outcomes. So I don't want us to tell each other this is too hard. We can know these things. We just think it's better to be fast and run with some guesses and figure out later if we were right.
Yeah. And I think too, there's an element of, we already know. We already know what our customers want. We've already been working with them. We talked to them a few years ago. And so we are still customer centric. We're moving fast. We're innovating and we're agile and we're moving really fast, but we're still keeping in mind what we know about them, right? And so that is almost tricky. Like, it's not quite hitting the mark, because red flags.
Red flags for sure. As soon as when companies go, we're innovating, I go, cool, what's the last thing you innovated? And then they have a hard time answering that, because usually they haven't innovated. They really haven't. Maybe they had a fresh idea somewhere in their company, but did they really innovate? Did they really disrupt? Are they a market leader? Were they ever a market leader? So when people start telling me, "Oh yeah, we're so innovative," and I'm doing a silly character there, but when people say to me in normal voices as well, "Oh, we're so innovative," I say, "Great, tell me about something you innovated lately." And sometimes they can't find that, and I go, or if they can, I go, cool that you innovated that, great that that was successful for you. Are you doing the simple things right, or do you have a lot of tickets in customer support for what should be really basic things, and that are all sitting in your backlog that you've decided weren't important to make better because we're good enough. And I always say that the true enemy of perfect, people say, oh, the enemy of shipping is perfection. Everybody thinks we need to be perfect. You don't need to be perfect, but our true enemy is that we think we're better than we are. It's not perfection standing in our way. It's a false sense of being better than we are. Oh, it's good enough. Oh, just ship it. Oh, we'll fix it later. Wow, you must have very low standards for quality because you know something is broken or not right now, and you're letting it go out there. And then the marketing team has to try to pitch this or promote this or get people interested in it or aware of it or to keep them. And that's I don't like seeing that burden thrown on the marketing team, because what's harder than having to kind of sell or softly sell a crappy product or service? I don't wish that on any marketing team. And that's why so much of this comes back to, what did you ship? What are you shipping, whether it's a product or service? So be careful of a lot of the stories we're telling ourselves about our greatness, because chances are we have qual and quant information, from customer support tickets to stuff languishing in our backlog to the struggles marketing's having to what the numbers actually look like. We have things that tell us a different story.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, you know, how do we then apply all of this customer centric approach into our marketing efforts? How do we get that going correctly and use the information that we're learning about customers to do better marketing?
Yeah. So again, it goes back to that research. What do we really know about these people? How do they see themselves? What tasks do they have? How do they tend to do those? So, workflows, mental models, collaborators, decision makers. Sometimes the person you think you're selling to is not the decision maker or doesn't work alone, whether that's B2B or B2C. So, if it's B2C, my husband and I might talk about it. Or if it's B2B, I'm talking about it with a vice president or somebody else. So, what do we understand about those tasks? Too often, someone says, well, we'll make a customer journey map. But a lot of that customer journey map is guessed at, assumed. Oh, we know what customers do. And it's often that I see the same garbage over and over. The customer starts out hopeful, then all hell breaks loose. But hooray, they got it done in the end. And I think that that is very rare for the journey to really look like that. And very often it misses the reality of all of the touch points along the way. Ouch, ouch. I just got an NPS in the mail right before we started, and it's from a company who I am having trouble setting up an account. They can't connect to my bank account. I couldn't put my information in, but yet I'm 3 hours into setting this up, and they sent me an NPS. I was like, "Are you sure you want my score right now?" So and if you got my score, what would you do about it? Who cares? And so I think we have to take a look at, what knowledge and information do we have about the customers? What is our evidence? And if our evidence is outdated or incorrect, let's not be afraid to say that. Maybe what we know about our customers is really what we knew about our customers, and it's time to freshen that up. And then it's important to take a look at things strategically and make sure that everything we're doing really works from the way customers see themselves. If you are trying to sell to me at what you think a woman in her early 50s wants, with pink and flowers and blurry crap and all kinds of stuff about my menstruation and my menopause at the same time, which I love. I'm getting ads on both, so clearly people have no idea what's going on for me, and my weight and my skin, and it's like, sell me something for my motorcycle. I shop mostly for my dogs. Nobody tries to sell me anything for my dogs, but yet I'm over indexing on that. But
Mm.
you don't know that because you've pigeonholed me as early 50s woman. And so you think I'm slowing down, you think I'm kind of fat, and it's just bizarre. And I would love to see us break out of our own um misconceptions. But first, we have to start by admitting, we think we know this, but there exists a possibility that this information isn't correct, or it's just outdated. And we used to be right, but we're not right now. We've got to be able to use critical thinking and question ourselves.
Yeah, and I think too that like we work in a sort of digital world where we have more of that information than we ever had before, and we can actually do something with it. This is another thing that we talked about last week on the podcast about personas. Like, the reason why we're like using age and gender demographics to segment people is because in the beginning of like Facebook ads, that was kind of all you could target on. So getting more information than that wasn't really even you weren't going to do anything with it. But today there's so much more you can do in terms of understanding people at a granular level, and not just their demographics, but actually their worldview and what they care about and what they're shopping for and what their activities are. And you can actually use that information to market to them in a more personalized and relevant way. So, but we're still kind of stuck in the, Facebook's brand new and we're targeting on age and gender. And I think the same thing is happening too, as you were talking about journey mapping. They start out hopeful, then this happens. And then like there is actually this, why are we just mapping the entire journey as if everybody's going on the same straight line? I had a conversation with someone years ago that it really stuck with me, where he said, you should be mapping the friction points. Map the journey to the problem. You've got a problem. You've got a bunch of people falling out of your product at this point, or a bunch of people, leaving your website. Map the journey to that, because that's what you're actually going to be able to then understand. How do people get to this, no man's land or whatever it is, and fix that friction point for them? That's going to be a lot more valuable than just assuming everybody's going through this beautiful journey to buy my product, which they're not.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of service design comes in. And people think, oh, that's designing services. We're a digital thing. Service design covers all the things. And so it's a term not everybody's familiar with, but highly Googleable. So check it out. And the idea of service design is they start with the concept of a customer journey map, but then they build in not only a lot of the more granular details, but they build in the company side of it, because we act as if once the customer or potential customer hits something of ours, it's just the customer's journey and things happen to them and at them. And the service blueprint, which is made by the service designer, starts mapping how we're involved in that. What both the things that the customer sees and experiences with us, like a salesperson or a website or a customer support person, and the things that they don't see that still allow the journey or the process to take place. Like the example I give in my book is, here in Italy, if I wanted to get a SIM card for my phone, there's a company that has a kiosk, and I can go up to the kiosk and give them my government ID and a couple of other pieces of information, and I can walk away with a phone number and a SIM card. But one of the things that has to happen behind the scenes is someone has to go to that machine and put SIM cards in it. And that's part of the customer journey. And the customer journey can break if the machine is out of SIM cards. And so I think it's important, as people want to level up when they think about journey mapping, is to get more into service design, and service design is a lot more than just a journey map or a blueprint, but to start thinking about, what was our role in this? How did we cause something good or bad? What was a break in what we offered, a time break or a service break, or something like that, where we are causing some of these problems? Because I think a lot of times the customer journey map is so passive voice. It's like, and then this thing happened to this person, and I'm like, we did that. We
Mm-hmm.
did that. We did it on purpose, or we did it by accident, or there shouldn't be an accident. So we did it because we're messed up somewhere in our own processes. But map that out, and you will really, really start to get a much clearer picture, if you can be honest with yourselves, about where this is broken for the customer and where you've essentially broken it through action or inaction.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like, yes, all of this, yes. I love this conversation today. I love, just a side note, the focus on the customer is so important. And I just feel like we've been having so much more conversations like this in the last maybe 4 years or so since pandemic. And I just love this conversation. The other thing I think is really important when we think about journey mapping is, and yes, thank you, the concept of setting up success metrics, KPIs, at different stages of the journey that are your customers' success, not your own as a business. So when I'm thinking about how do we be more customer centric, it's understanding, well, what is my customer trying to achieve at this point? And maybe they're not even a customer yet. We're mapping their journey. They're not even aware of us yet. What they're trying to achieve is, some kind of understanding, or they have a question they need answering. And I think setting up some success metrics around your customer success is a way to, like it, of course we want them to buy something, but that's our success, not theirs. That's
Right.
internally focused. And so, even it's just another kind of subtle way to turn it around, to look outside a little bit about what is that person trying to achieve when they go to that SIM card kiosk? They want to get a phone, right? We want them to purchase something, but
Right.
those are two different metrics, and focusing in the right direction just helps everybody kind of circle around the customer.
Yeah, exactly. What is success from the customer's perspective? Are there early moments of success? Are there later moments of success? And certainly these are going to be either your input metrics or some sort of metrics that we're monitoring. I'm not saying don't monitor these, but it may not be your North Star or it may not be your KPI because there are other things that are important to the customer. Like for example, some marketing teams will say, "Hey, did we interrupt what the customer came here to do and get them to sign up to our mailing list?" And you might have some mailing list signups, and then you might have immediate unsubscriptions or other problems. But the customer didn't come to your website to sign up to the mailing list. So to make that a very dominant blocking experience is certainly not customer focused. Even if someone in a meeting says, but they're going to get a discount and customers love discounts, we can always rationalize stuff away and we can always reverse engineer something we wanted to do to say, well, I can find a benefit for the customer somewhere in here. They'll get a discount. But nobody came to the website to sign up to your mailing list. Nobody came to the website to be interrupted in what they were doing for something you wanted to push them. And so I think that if we really wanted to be more customer centric, it gets a little scary, especially for marketing teams, because then they have to go, okay, do I interrupt people with a pop-up or an overlay or something? Do I interrupt them? When do I interrupt them? And at what point is this just serving me? Because if you create something that great, I'll want to be on your mailing list. I think about the mailing lists I'm on and the mailing lists I'm not. And I would say most of the mailing lists I'm still on are my favorite companies giving me their monthly new feature updates. Those are the mailing lists I'm still on. Most of the e-commerce sites, I've left the mailing list because I was tired of getting an email every week about a product I wasn't interested in, or it's back to school time. Who cares? I have 5 dogs. So I think that I know I'm a little all over the place here. I've got a lot running through my head at the same time, but I think it just all goes back to the tough conversations we need to have internally that we're afraid to talk about because no matter how agile we claim to be, magically everybody's afraid to try something new. No matter how innovative we claim to be, someone's afraid to innovate in our own processes and approach.
And I think you bring up such a good point about how scary it is for marketing teams to stray from certain metrics that are expected from the rest of the business, right? Like the success of that ad campaign is going to be based on conversions, right? Someone who signs up for a demo. But if you're running an awareness campaign to people who aren't familiar with you, there's other things that are more successful than getting that conversion. And actually, a lot of people are turning that ad off right away because they're not getting the conversion they need and they're missing the opportunity to educate, to build awareness, to be helpful, to be like useful, God forbid.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I think that is very scary, and it's really hard for marketing teams to advocate for that.
Yeah, well, I wrote down as you were talking, I wrote the word demo down in front of me, and you can all guess probably where I'm going with that. But let's be customer centric for a moment. Let's imagine that you're running even an awareness campaign and you say, hey, we have this amazing new system that's really going to help you get this done as a business or as a person. Check out this amazing thing, whether it's a business tool or it's personal, it really doesn't matter. But let's imagine that for some reason, you have to sign up for a demo or to talk to a salesperson. I can't wait to talk to a salesperson, said no one ever. And so now automatically we're thinking, but we want them to talk to a salesperson. The salespeople is going to explain things to them, and our system's hard to use. The salespeople have to show them how to use it. And blah, blah, blah. We've built up this whole house of cards and we keep putting glue on it. And I say, look, if you have that great a system, drop me in a free trial. If your system is that good, let me do it. If your system is hard to use, a salesperson trying to explain it to me in 30 minutes where I'm never going to remember half of what they said, that's not necessarily the best way to sell this, because then when I go to use it, I'm going to go, what did that salesperson say? And why is this thing so hard to use? What am I doing here? So the customer centricity aspect works really from that campaign all the way through the customer and user experience of the product or service. And so be careful when you're saying like, oh, we want to get them into a demo or a conversation with the salesperson. Pretty much nobody wants that. Hands up, or I can't see any of you. Emojis up. How many people abandon a site when they can't find a pricing page? Or
Mhm.
when the pricing page says contact us or get into our drip campaign for pricing, and then you're like, insert middle fingers here, which I don't want to do on your show because I forgot to ask you if I could swear. And so, already we're not customer centric because you don't understand that the customer might be more self directed. They might want to say, look, I just want to try this. Let me try your damn system. And if it's great, you have my money, take my money. And if your system's not great, look, I'm out of here. And a salesman or woman or other salesperson can't save that. And so think really about what you're doing and why, and think about how much of it you are trying to manipulate or over control because of some fear somebody has that if someone does a free trial themselves, they're not going to get it. Oh, they're not going to understand I see that so much. They're not going to understand our value proposition. Well, then what is going on that your value proposition is so unclear?
Yeah. Yeah. You've got bigger problems at that point if you need to get somebody on the phone to explain. Though, I mean, I've seen some examples where actually the sales pitch is way stronger than whatever's on the website or whatever's in the marketing communications. I'm like, you got to bring that out, bring it forward.
Exactly.
Don't gatekeep all the best stuff for the salesperson. Get it in front of people sooner in a simple way that they understand and they want it. And then you're creating an environment where that sales conversation is going to be much easier when people go into it wanting to have that sales conversation as opposed to being forced
Tell
into it.
me more.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a point at which consumers may or may not say, tell me more. And there's a point at which sometimes we're saying, for the love of God, please don't tell me more. And so I think that we have to think about what is that process? And that's sometimes some of the things we're researching for clients, which is how do people even research this and decide whether or not they're going to shortlist a company or do the free trial or talk to a salesperson? And people, because sometimes my clients are like, we don't even know how people find us or how they decide to try us or not try us or things like this. And so, we can help with that, or a professional researcher can help with that. And so it's not just us. And so these are the things that I want people to think about. And we can say empathy all day long, but if we're not really remembering how much we hate when these things happen to us, then why are we unleashing them on other people? It's just simple. It's the simplest do unto others. It's like, wow, I don't like talking to salespeople, but yet at your company, you're going, well, make sure they can't get into the free trial unless they talk to a salesperson, or don't tell them the pricing until they've done the free trial or talked to the salesperson. I have wasted so much time in either free trials or sales demos for things where afterwards they're like, yeah, we don't pick up the phone for less than $26,000 a year. And here I am with $500.
Hmm.
And so, and then in that case, you're not even qualifying your leads correctly, which is a whole other bucket of sales and marketing issues.
Yes, for sure. Probably one we don't have time to go down today. But next time we talk, we will talk about that. Um, well, I'm wondering, who do you think out there is doing customer centric marketing really well?
Yeah, I think that if I had to pick a B2B and a B2C company that I think do it well, and this is hashtag not sponsored, as we like to say on my YouTube show. I am not paid to say this. These are my opinions. On the B2B side, I love Monday.com. And I like Monday.com because they seem to really understand task oriented personas or segments. Like, hi, we don't know what role you're in, but here's the thing you're trying to do. And we do that well, and we're going to help you do it well. So it doesn't care that I'm a woman or I'm this age or I'm whatever, or I do or don't drink Starbucks, or it's just, hey, we know you're trying to get a certain thing done, and we're going to be the best at helping you get that done. And the rest almost doesn't matter. And I go, oh, yes, yes, speak to me. This is my language. My language is getting tasks done well. And so I tend to like the way that Monday.com presents that. I haven't looked at their website in the last few months. Maybe they've changed, but I do tend to like the way that they're trying to find a point of connection where it's like, we understand what you're trying to get done, and we have the perfect solution for that. Check it out. Then you can go into a free trial. On the B2C side, anybody who knows me for more than 3 seconds knows that I'm obsessed with Walt Disney Parks and Resorts, as it used to be called. And so this is the Disney theme parks and their hotels. So not necessarily the movies or the princesses or some of the other things. I'm obsessed with parks and hotels. And I think the marketing that's done around Disney parks and hotels is extremely effective. And I think it's because it gets at the heart of why you're going to these places. And a lot of their marketing tends to be about you're trying to create memories. So they could market it for come have fun, come have a great meal, come ride a cool ride. Okay, sure. But what's the user really trying to get done? And especially at the price of a Disney vacation, which, let's face it, is some of the most expensive stuff a family can do in whatever country the park is located in, but especially in America and especially in the Florida park. You can spend thousands and thousands for days or a week there. What do you want to make sure you came away with? You came away with a great time, great memories, lifelong laughs and fun and things your family's always going to look back on. And that's what a lot of their marketing sells. It sells the making of the memory versus and the micro moments that get there versus, hey, come to Disney and we have a fun ride. Like I think about some of the Six Flags ads I saw when I was younger or lived in America, and you might live in a place that has a Six Flags near you, and it's always like Six Flags, this is our giant new coaster,
Mm-hmm.
which you will ride for 90 seconds and then probably
Yep.
not give a crap, you know? And so Six Flags, what's the overall experience? A 90-second coaster maybe. So the marketing is different, the way they promote it, your usual 4Ps, your value proposition, very different from the way that Disney promotes their stuff. And so I think it's something for people to look out for next time they see marketing or advertising for a Disney park or hotel.
Yeah. And I think to your points earlier in the conversation, Disney is the best at the research, the observational research. The last time I was at Disney, I learned that in order to figure out the placement of the trash cans around Disneyland, they watched people
Walked 20 steps. Yeah.
walk to see how long it would take before people would throw trash on the ground.
Yeah,
And
so that was 1955. So people think that that happened recently. That was actually 1955 when Disneyland opened in California, and Walt found that people were just throwing hot dog wrappers on the ground. So he started following them around a little bit, which sounds creepy, but is not that different from mystery shopping or field studies. And he found that people tended to walk about 20 steps or so before they gave up looking for a trash can and just threw their trash on the ground. And so now, of course, Disney has a lot of strategically placed trash cans, but I'll go you one better on that. I was once at a Disney outside, I was in a Disney, the boardwalk area. For those of you who know Disney Florida, there's an area called the boardwalk. It's got hotels and shops and restaurants. And I was having a sandwich, and some, let's just say, not very friendly mom to a baby decided she was going to change her baby on the dining tables outside of the cafe where I was eating, where I'm trying to eat this sandwich, and there is the baby diaper. And I, for the first time in my life, was speechless. And I watched this woman change this diaper and then walk over and throw it in the garbage can on the boardwalk of the cafe. And in the amount of time it took my brain to say, holy swear word, I'm eating here, two people ran out and changed the garbage can bag.
Mhm.
The amount of people don't stop and think about, okay, Disney's full of security cameras, fine, but that's not just for your safety. That's so you don't have to smell baby poop when you're eating a sandwich. And so not only was the trash can right there, and so the woman decided she could change the baby right there, but then someone decided, don't just let that sit. And so if you ever watch the janitor and sanitary service at a Disney park, they're wearing earpieces. And
Mhm.
I've learned that, I've read a book about it. They get dispatched to things.
And that is just,
It's on
when
another level.
it's on another level. And when you talk about, let's talk about an example of somebody who does customer centric marketing very well and experience creation and design very well. it's because of all that research. It's because it's constant observation. It's, now you have an app that creates it's fun games, right? Like in the Star Wars land, you're playing these different games and trying to find things in the lines. That's not because they want to give you a fun game to play. They're like, how far are you in this room yet? Oh, you didn't get there yet. They're seeing how long the line is, and
Sure.
if you're, it's constant research and constant understanding of what their customers value and how they can over deliver. They're not just trying to deliver what customers are looking for. They're the kings and queens of surprise and delight. And that's not by accident. That's not because somebody said, I already know what people want. They want rides and they want a clean park. That is 100% through all of the qualitative and quantitative research that's being done every day.
Yeah, and what I remind people is that so often between the posters we have on the wall and the famous or dead CEOs that we're quoting all of these people who focused on the customer. We've got the Steve Jobs quotes. Oh, you got to find out what the users need, and they might not know what they want, but you got to find it out and you got to build for it. Don't build a thing and try to sell to them. And Walt Disney said this, even though it was probably written by Marty Sklar, but Walt Disney said it. And so, we have all of these things that we say and quote and hang on the wall, and then we don't do it. We don't do it. We don't follow the people we admire. We don't follow the companies that we tend to see as the most successful or innovative or interesting. We don't follow those models because someone who's paid more than we are said, we don't have time for that. We got to be fast. I read a book that said just ship it. I read a book that said be fast. And it's like, okay, we're faster than we've ever been, but is quality up?
Mm-hmm.
Is customer satisfaction up? Is loyalty up? So many, I was saying to myself this morning, and I say to you, Jen, and to your audience, think about right now, how many customer support conversations are you in the middle of right now? Like, I'm thinking of how many people I'm waiting to hear back from on a complaint or a return or an exchange, or I need to contact these people for one of those reasons. I have a list in Monday.com, hashtag not sponsored, of all the companies I plan to downgrade or cancel by the end of the year. We are surrounded by stuff that is getting worse and worse because people are cutting costs. I understand that sometimes we have to cut costs, but we also have to understand what goes with that. If you're cutting costs, if you're cutting good people, don't expect to be as good or as competitive. And sure, Disney does it too. Disney cuts people, Disney cuts programs, and there's usually a giant outcry, and they dump the CEO and they try to fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I yes, 100%. Well, everything that you said.
Yes to everything.
Yes to everything. I can't agree more that, we watch these companies do this amazing work. And, I think maybe some of it is like, if you're early stage startup and you're trying to emulate, a Nike or an Apple or a Disney, you think it's out of reach, right? These are huge companies, but they didn't start out that way.
Sure.
So looking back to, what they did in the beginning, take some of those examples of, or on the B2B side, a Salesforce or a whoever, go back to how did they get their first 100 customers, or what was their tagline? Go into like the Wayback Machine. It's all there for us, right? Go see what they were talking about, what they were doing, and what their focus was when they first launched, and emulate that, because there's something to be said for the success of these companies and how they got so big because of their focus outside on their customers.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great idea to especially look at these companies before they got big or too big. Now we're at the point where Salesforce is buying companies, and we may or may not like what they're doing with those acquisitions, and Adobe's buying companies, and we may or may not like what they've done with those acquisitions. Most of Apple's successes in the past, what feels like 10, 15 or more years, have been acquisitions. Siri was bought. People think, oh my God, Siri, that's so innovative. Yeah, but they bought it. They didn't come up with it. And so, sure, you can buy innovations, you can have innovations, but I think it's important to look back at when these companies still cared about focusing on the customer and making sure we understood them in qualitative ways, and then making sure we really tried to solve those problems, and we didn't just throw darts at a board with another A/B test and another thing, and oh, did the numbers go up? And I think we've removed so much of the heart and soul of what a lot of us are trying to get done at our jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. So, to kind of wrap everything up, go talk to your customers, see what they're doing, focus out instead of in. And
Please.
uh, yeah,
They're
and it,
begging you. Your customers are begging for this. Go read your support tickets, read the tweets about you. You know this. You know they're begging for these things, and yet what are you doing? You go, no, let's build a new thing. I remind people, look, how many every time you go into your app store of your phone, there's updates. There's updated apps. How often is that update a new feature or an innovation versus how often it's a bug fix? It's
Mhm.
endless bug fixes because we're rushing out crap. And then we're all the guinea pigs. We're all the unpaid QA who have to go, hey, your stuff is crap. I mean, I love Monday.com, but I had to report a wacky bug to them where I won't go through the whole thing, but short version was if you did a couple of steps, it could end up telling you the year was 0202.
Oh,
And I was like, wow, how did nobody find this? But obviously, you and I are talking on July 22nd, 2024. We just saw the whole CrowdStrike thing. And that is the result of somebody not doing, okay, somebody made a mistake in their code. Okay, fine. But we're supposed to have layers of stuff in place that keep it from affecting the whole world.
we're supposed to. It doesn't always work out the way it's supposed to, but
And a lot of marketing is not going to fix that. We can try to spackle that with marketing and slogans and company values, but if we're not living these, customers get it. We're not fooling them.
for sure, for sure. It's got to be all connected. And I feel like that's really the result of a truly that customers know that we suck. They know
They
it. Uh, it's not a surprise, so don't try to hide
It's
it
not
anymore.
a secret. Yeah.
Uh, but there that like a truly customer centric organization that is connecting those teams, it's connecting product and sales and marketing and customer teams and account teams, and so everybody's saying the same thing, and what we're marketing is what we're selling is what they're experiencing on the back end. And if we're doing that well, we're actually solving a problem for people, and that is what we're all after, isn't it?
Please solve a real problem and solve it well. I'm so tired of problems I'm not having being not solved. What?
I didn't actually have that problem, but you didn't solve it either. So
Exactly. That's totally how I feel. Like this is a solution in search of a problem and it's not even a good solution. What?
totally,
I'm going to go take a nap, you know.
totally. So thank you so much. I hope
Thank you.
everybody listening in today is going to go and talk to your customers. Please go do some customer interviews and research.
Observe them.
So
Observe them. Yeah.
thank you so much,
Thanks, Jen.
Debbie. This
Thank
is
you,
a
Jen.
fabulous conversation. Thanks for joining us, everyone, for tuning